Welcome everyone back to another episode of Barbie Kong. I hope that you are all doing well and that you had a lovely 4th of July weekend. It was also Canada Day last week, so if you celebrate that, I wish you a happy Canada Day, a happy 4th of July. I had a lovely weekend myself, and I am getting ready to head out to Canada in the end of this week. So I will hopefully be still giving you episodes throughout the summer, so that will be really wonderful. So before I launch into the episode today, I just wanted to, right off the bat, give all of my thoughts and prayers and everything to everybody in Texas right now, especially everyone at the Mystic Camp. It was just reported that there was 27 people who have unfortunately died, many of them children, which is just so unfortunate. And it's hard to come off of a fun holiday weekend and then kind of have this really, really devastating news that's coming from Texas right now. And I think it really just gives you a pause of how, we think these things can never really happen. And, unfortunately they do. And unfortunately we can't, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. And it's just, it really does feel heavy today because of just all the people that are suffering and all the people that have obviously lost so much. And I know there's a lot of kids that are at camp right now. There's a lot of kids that are separated from their parents. And it's difficult. It's really hard because you want to have that, autonomy with them and you want them to be able to go out. But it's, it's that thing of, when you give them that hug, is it this, you don't want to think of that obviously, but it is really, unfortunately a lot of parents are dealing with that today. So, obviously there's many places to donate and I can link some in the show notes at the end of the episode. So if you do feel like you want to donate, there's lots of places you can do that. And I hope that everyone can just, take a moment of reflection today and think about all the victims of these unfortunate floods. So, today, I actually do have a guest that will be on with me, and her name is Jane Cortney. She is also AKA Tabby Twitch, which is her burlesque performance name, and she is a wonderful performer. She produces multiple burlesque shows throughout the city. She just completed one called Who's That Girl, which was a Madonna-based burlesque show that was a pride show. I went to it and it was really, really wonderful. And she also produces a show called Prime. Usually they are at the Grey Mar, and she will give you more information when she comes on, I'm sure, about that. But the reason that I wanted to have Jane on as kind of my first guest back into this podcasting world, and I know that I threw a lot of stuff at you all last week, and it was kind of a heavy episode, and there was a lot of strong opinions, so I hope I still have a couple people, my 2 people that listen are still here. And, I kind of wanted to come out really guns a-blazing and just really kind of be honest about how I was feeling about certain things, and those were kind of the topics that were on my mind. But I do want to kind of focus the episodes a little bit more. Basically, each guest will have some kind of link to something that I am advocating for, or that I feel like is important for for our children and for them kind of coming up into the world, and how I can kind of incorporate that into the counseling aspect of what I was talking about last time. So today, what I wanted to do with the burlesque kind of introduction and have Jane come on is that my experience, I really didn't know anything about burlesque at all. When I first started going to see Jane's shows, and I just kind of wanted to go because I was, excited to see her and everything. And over the course of probably the last 2 or 3 years, I've seen quite a few performances. And the thing that always strikes me when I go is, and she'll go into more of like what the kind of the performances entail, but it obviously, I think there's an immediate kind of image that somebody might have when they hear the word burlesque or what that means. And it really is almost the complete opposite of that. It's not something that is, you know, distasteful or frowned upon or anything like that. Every time I've gone to those shows, I feel so empowered when I leave. The shows that Jane produces, there's tons of different women that come on that are from all different walks of life, all different types of body shapes, all different ways that they want to express themselves. And, the courage that it does take to perform in that way is pretty admirable. And what I think that's interesting about it is that the confidence that we have as women can get very shattered very quickly with the way that we look. And I think that, unfortunately, we're still in a place where all body types are not accepted, or maybe they are, but they're not necessarily being, celebrated. And it's something that I'm really obviously feel very strongly about. I think that whatever size you feel comfortable in a body shape is the size that you feel comfortable, and that I really do believe that. And I believe that if you are healthy and if you are able to go into the world and feel confident, then that is totally what you should do. But I think that we're still kind of battling a lot of things in terms of the way that we as women have. And I can speak now that I'm a 40-year-old woman, perimenopause, whatever that means. And your body changes, and it's hard. It's a hard thing. And it's a hard thing not to look in the mirror and say to yourself, I feel happy, or I feel good about this, or look at a picture. And what I was kind of, I spoke a little bit about social media last episode, and the obviously we are now in a place where we can, the image of what we see is so distorted. You can post a picture, and I'll fully admit I filter almost every single picture that I post, and it's just now kind of a habit. It's like I want to put on the picture, and it just looks better when it's filtered, and I'm just so used to doing it. And it still looks like me, but it's still a little enhanced. And obviously, like, there's all the different things, you can get different apps and all that kind of stuff to enhance your pictures. But the images that we're seeing, and the images that our children are also seeing when it comes to how people are looking, is so skewed from what is really going on. And there's been a lot of research that's happened that, young girls are looking at these filtered pictures, and they really want themselves to look that way. The whole marketing skincare to 10-year-olds is something that, I think it's good that they're aware of being healthy and being, having their skin look good and everything like that. But it is fueled from a thing of like, oh, you're not good enough, and you need to maybe do X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to sell you this product that's going to do that. And we're all guilty of it. We all get the ads. We all see something that we're going to click on and buy, and then it doesn't work. And then, we're in this like constant cycle. And I think what I want to tie in with the burlesque idea is that we really don't have to do this, and there's still so much pressure. There's still so much things that, we're not happy with, and we want to change. And, again, I think it's a personal choice. I think that people, if you are an adult and you feel like you want to change something about your body, I think that's totally fine. I don't think that that's, something that we need to put any judgment on whatsoever. But I think that it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. Especially as you get older, it's very specific of what you're choosing to do. And so when I see something like a show that has women that are getting up there, and they're proud of their bodies, and they're proud of their sexuality, and they're proud of who they are, and they, own it completely, and they're able to take that back in a way, it's just really a really cool thing. And I think that it's something that I really admire. And I think there's all different, ways that people kind of will think about that. But I think that it's really important to, be positive about the way that we look, because a lot of it we just really have not a lot of control over. And I think that, we have to get past a point, especially for our young girls, because there's still a lot of things that happen, and there's a lot of things that are said to people, and we have to just break that cycle. We just have to say, we are not going to continue and continue and continue to judge people based on the way that they look. And that obviously is heightened in other industries, but we have to just move past that and judge people based on their characters and who they are and and all of that. So we are going to get into the interview with Jane because I think she's going to be able to explain it a lot more than I can and kind of give you her feelings about how it feels to do burlesque and how she, kind of puts the show together and all of that kind of stuff. So without further ado, we will start our interview with Jane. Hello. Hi. I am here with Miss Jane Cortney. Hi, Jane. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Katie.
I'm so happy that you're my first guest back after my 7-year hiatus.
What an honor.
I'm so happy that you agreed to come on. And for our listeners, Jane is an actress. She's a burlesque performer and producer, and she is a true blue New Yorker. So, Jane, welcome to Barbie Kong. So can you just tell everybody a little bit about your background and who you are and what you do and all of that?
My background is that I went to grad school with Katie Redman. My claim to fame.
Yeah, claim to fame. Yes. Such a magical time for all of us. It was really life
Same.
defining. Yes.
Yeah. So trained as an actor. I was in plays, did some film. We have a film production company, Lafayette Salon. I also run a reading series with Mac Bryden and Stuart Walker that you have been in, that Jill has been in, that has been running since 2009. We do one reading per month. We have used over 300 actors.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so fun. And do you still like doing it all the time? It's like it's such a cool thing for people that don't know that they read a play. It's every month, right? Or
Every
every
month.
yeah. And I just think that's such an amazing thing to do to just continue to educate yourself on, literature and plays and all of that kind of stuff. So is it something that you still love to do?
Yeah, I think it's become at this point, it's like no matter what is going on in our lives, like we read the play. We know whatever date it is, we'll convene. And I think that kind of touchstone is nice to have as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also very satisfying to put people to work and have people practice their craft and
Mm-hmm.
be able to facilitate that. I feel like we're providing a service that, or, service, but
No, totally.
a way for people to act when it's not always easy to have those outlets, as we know.
Totally.
That's nice.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, like you said, it gives people just such an awesome opportunity to practice all the skills and everything like that. So, I'm gonna shift a little bit to the burlesque because I just went to your show like 2 weeks ago and it was so great. I think it was one of the best ones. And I really just enjoyed the energy in the
Oh,
room. And
thanks.
so, yeah, I guess just maybe talk a little bit of how you made your way to the burlesque scene at this point.
Yeah, we Dana Snyder, another friend from grad school. She and I were, we would go watch burlesque. She said said we should take the class, but I think in my memory she said we should take it. So we don't know. Uh, but we took a class at the New York School of Burlesque, and we never looked back.
hmm And was it, how long was the course? I think you've told me this before, but I
We
forget.
took it was like a baby, like essentials class. So that was, I think, 4 Sundays, and that you learn how to do a glove peel and etc. And
hmm
then we moved on to act development, which was
hmm
had a performing component, which was exciting.
And can you give the listeners just a little bit of how you did, like how you kind of start your characters? Because I think from what I've seen, it looks a little different than maybe an acting approach, but it might not be. Maybe it is the same kind of thing. But I'm curious because I've seen you do quite a few characters at this point, and I'm just wondering like what that process is to kind of create the character and then the whole performance.
Great question. I would say, I mean, a lot of things inspire me. The music, it could be a time in history, it could be a historical person, but I guess I think of it as the character is Tabby Twitch. That's my burlesque persona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Um, she's probably more carefree than Jane Cortney.
how did you get the name Tabby Twitch?
It's a bastardization of the Beatrix Potter character, Tabitha Twitchit, the mama cat. I think she's Tom Kitten's mother. She's the one. If you read the tale of Tom Kitten, she's washing the kitten.
Right. And you're a cat lover, obviously. And your first few shows were cat based, correct? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, Dana and I, we formed Kitten Coven, which was the
Mm-hmm.
sisterhood of cats plotting to take over the world, one tease at a time. So
Right.
our acts were primarily cat themed, and we kind of were cats together. So I think that cattiness I've kept with me as I've embarked on a solo journey, burlesque journey.
Right.
But, because cats they're flirtatious, they're
Mm-hmm.
crafty.
Mm-hmm. I'll ask you about all the costumes and stuff in a second because that's really a big part of it, and I that's like one of my favorite parts of it. But you then are now going on to do like the producing of Prime, which is do you want to just speak a little bit about what that show is and how you you came about doing it and finding the people that you do it with?
I feel like from producing the reading series, I had some, like, I knew I could produce my own show. And I think there's something that I like. I don't know. I like working with people that I like working with. It's
Mm-hmm.
fun to be like, oh, I'll use this person, this person, this person. Like the casting of it is fun for me.
And
Um,
and with Prime, you do all of the producing and everything is done by you, right? You it's your whole show.
I do, but I have help. I have, of course, DJ Bun Buns playing the
Yes.
music, and then my sister Alex does the door, so I certainly can't
Perfect.
do it alone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And th they usually have like different themes sometimes. And is that just like you come up with that through as the months go on? You kind of are, you just did the Madonna one, which I thought was like really so fun because the facts of her that I didn't really know, I think that was really engaging for the audience. And then just the actual acts of the performers was really, really mind blowing, actually. It was really cool to see. So do you just kind of think of a theme and go for it?
Well, my show Prime is, because I started burlesque when I was older, so it's not for only older burlesque performers, but the idea is you're at the height of your powers, whatever that means. So, anyone that could be anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But it does kind of hold a space for performers that maybe in their prime. Maybe some would say past their prime, but
Right.
I wouldn't say that.
No, never, never. You're in the prime always. Um, and yeah, what's your favorite part of the of burlesque? Like, I mean, and I guess just if you wanted to just tell people like, when it's not like a full nudity type of situation, is that something that you people ask you or like do you ever get those questions of like, oh, is it completely naked or anything like that?
No, no one asks that, but I do art modeling, like figure
Oh,
modeling, and
yeah,
people
yeah,
do
yeah.
do ask a lot of questions about that.
Right, 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 right. And is that ever like an intimidating thing to be, the end of the last show, you were like, oh, maybe you should try to take a class. And I'm like, I don't know if I could ever do it because I just feel super self-conscious, which is what I like admire about you doing all of the things that you do. But like, do you ever feel nervous or worried or anything like that?
I'm sure all the time.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's just an amazing thing to do and to be so confident within your body and the, going out there and stuff, I think is just something that not everybody can do. So I really applaud you for that. And is there
Thank
anything that
you.
you do to push through that kind of worry or anxiety that comes up, or do you just kind of get into the character and it's fine?
I think I just think about like what we were taught in school and what I've,
Yeah.
acting teachers tell you that that nervousness is just energy to be converted on stage. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's true. It's an event, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
It would be
And
weird if I weren't nervous. I would be worried.
yeah, yes. Yeah, totally. But I will say that the audience and everybody, like there's no nervous energy that I feel like anybody can feel from the outside of it. I feel like everyone is just so into it and respectful and it's like such a celebration of women and all of that. So is there like a part of it that you really, really like or like that what's your favorite part of
I
performing?
just really love all of it. I think coming from acting, like burlesque, it's a much more flexible art form. It's like very inclusive, not just in terms of people, but in terms of what you can do. And I think a lot of
Hmm.
times as an actor, you're at the mercy of the director,
Hmm.
the editor, the playwright. Like you have to serve the text, right? You can't, or the director's vision. You
Right.
can't just do whatever you want to do. So I'm really enjoying working for myself, so to speak.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. And at your shows you have women that come in from all different places and parts of life and everything like that and they're all different body shapes and sizes and is that something that's like intentional when you're casting the shows or do you just kind of pick whoever you feel is right for that particular show?
I think that just reflects what I find beautiful. And I think
Mm,
variety is natural, right? It's in nature. It's not like
mm-hmm.
every animal is the same.
Right.
So I think that's my aesthetic. Like what I find diversity really is beautiful. And I wouldn't necessarily want to see a show where everyone looked the same. Like
Mm-hmm.
when everything is the same, I don't know, it's not as dynamic to me.
Totally, yeah. And I think that's such a as an audience member it's cool to see not everyone looking the same and say and like kind of identifying with like, oh, this person looks similar to me or something like that. Like I really like that aspect of it and that all the, just the different body shapes and sizes that come out, I feel like it really is something that feels very empowering for me because I think we're so hard on ourselves and we like, want to have a certain way that we look and it's just when I leave your shows, I'm always like I feel so great about the way that I look, and I don't always feel that way. So
Well,
thank you
that's
for that.
really an important topic that you just hit on of, audience. The audience, I think, wants to see themselves reflected in the performers, and it's
Hmm.
really beautiful.
Yeah. And do you do a rehearsal before the show, or no? It's just you go as is.
No, that's the insane thing about burlesque is that there really is no rehearsal. I mean, you can
Wow.
rehearse on your own,
Right.
but there is there isn't like a run through like in acting.
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty impressive because it does feel like there's a
No,
bit
it's
of
wild.
rehearsal, yeah, that goes into it. And I mean, obviously the costumes, and if anyone hasn't been to a burlesque show, there's such a variety of different costumes that reflect the characters, but then also it's really part of the performance, I would say. So can you talk a little bit about the clothing and the costume pieces how you find them? And I know it's like really you're building the character as you're building the costume in a sense.
A lot of times it's stuff like a piece will inspire me that I've had for years and years. And I'm
Mm,
kind of like, oh, I love this. I don't want to throw it out, but I don't really wear it anymore.
mm-hmm.
Um, so that how actually I had a skirt. It's like a 25-year-old skirt, and I wore it. I did a new act last year, and I used the skirt, and then a little like free time this week. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll like take that to a tailor and get it like
Mm-hmm.
fixed up because it's
Mm-hmm.
looking a little ratty. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I like the idea of like recycling all of this stuff
Yeah.
rather than buying new items.
I feel like always the costumes there's always like something that you can look at. Like it's like the coat or the color of your nails or the color of the shoes. Like it all goes together with whatever the specific character for that night is. And so I really think that that cool attention to detail really makes the whole performance of it, especially, as the closer, the layers are coming off. It's cool to see that kind of Easter egg like unfolding as the performance goes on.
Yeah, I really enjoy like building like looks, whether it's clothing or decorating a room, painting.
Mm.
I don't know. It's interesting to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we'll talk a little, just switch a little to acting right now. I know that you have done a lot of stuff over like the last 20 years. And do you feel like there's anything specific about the industry or about the way that the kind of like creative performance aspects of things are right now that you are either happy about or are discouraging to you? And I guess that question comes from just what you're doing by producing these shows, and you're really doing it for yourself and you're doing it on your own. And do you feel like you're that motivates you, or is it kind of discouraging because of where everything is with the entertainment industry? That's a long-winded question for you.
Gosh,
That's a hard question. But just how do you feel about I guess the creative process? I'll just say that.
I mean, I think just getting back to your, I don't know, maybe what in your imagination. I think that's what I
Mm-hmm.
want to bring it back to, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
nurturing your imagination is very
I
important,
love that.
whether it's writing or going to a museum or just like daydreaming is so important. In fact, I do this
Mm-hmm.
art modeling and I just
Mm.
have like hours and hours to stare into space.
Yeah,
So great.
I love
Um,
that.
so I'm literally getting paid for something that was on my report card in third grade, being like, this poor girl just can't
Yeah.
pay attention. But I think we're all different. We all have a different take on the world. I sometimes worry that social media, like it's such a part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's so present, and I worry
Mm-hmm.
that that is we see these images of like what women are supposed to look like or what things should be, or and it's like
Yeah.
kind of pushing us towards like I don't want to say we're all turning into robots, but it
Mm-hmm.
might be happening.
Yeah, I think it's happening.
Right, like so
Yeah.
I would say instead of I don't know, I think there's a lot to be gained from listening to what's really inside of you and observing
Mm-hmm.
the world and then processing it all rather than staring at your computer and just spitting out what you're told is the way things are supposed to be, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I love that idea of just following your imagination, because I think there, there's a whole younger generation that like, doesn't necessarily take that time to just sit and stare, into the ethers of life and think about things and get that creative thing going, like even starting this again, it was like I was just had all these thoughts in my head and I'm like, okay, I have to
Great.
do something. And even if, whatever, who cares? It's just
You
like
have
getting it
7
out
years of Barbie Kong inside you.
in my head that I'm like, what's
Watch
going on?
out, world.
Oh my God. No, yeah, but no, I agree that it's just it's you have to do it for your that thing in your stomach that tells you to keep going and keep doing things and trying things. Is there anything that's inspiring you right now, like any kind of show or play or writing, or is any kind of media that you've seen that really is inspiring you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to mention Oh Mary. Did you see that play? It was so
It was
inventive and
so good. Yeah, it was awesome.
Cole might not have been cast as Mary Todd Lincoln, and
Hmm.
it's a more typical situation, but
Hmm.
they really made it their own. So
Yeah.
I was inspired by that. I also, speaking of theater, because I do try to get out there and see things,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a Sondheim review called Old Friends, and
Oh.
Bernadette Peters was in it. and Lisa Longa, she was amazing. But
Oh,
you know, I'm just Bernadette Peters, like she's not a young performer, but I
mm-hmm.
just love that she was up there like doing it and she's still doing it. She sounded
Yeah.
great. Like
Where did you see that? Was it
it
what?
was at a Broadway
Uh,
house.
nice. Um, yeah, that's so cool. I feel like Oh Mary is a great show. It was so funny and it was just
So
so
funny.
yeah, and just like again, I think that's an example that they wrote it on a piece of paper, just a random idea like in a Google Doc, and then that became the play. And I think that's just so cool that you just start with some random idea that you have and it could turn into something like that. So
I know.
yeah, that's really awesome. And you've lived in New York your whole life, which I think is
No,
really
I was
unique.
actually born
No,
in
oh yeah,
London and
London.
lived
I'm
there
sorry. Yes, yes,
till
yes, yes.
age 4.
Four. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I always just think I know that, but I always think of you as just like a true
No,
blue New Yorker.
I am for
Yeah.
sure. You're not
And
wrong.
can you talk just about that, like how it's been living here through like all these eras of New York and just kind of yeah, how you feel about that because it's kind of a unique thing to spend the majority of your life living in New York City.
Yes. You know, the truth is, I don't really know anything else. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really compare it to something, but I think, I think New York is the place I grew up. It's
Mm.
where I'm comfortable, but it's also, it gives me lots of opportunities to get out of my comfort zone, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I've already almost been longer living here than in Canada, so I guess I feel more New York than Canadian at this point, I think,
Yes.
but I'm always going to be Canadian because I feel like everyone's always thinks that, so there's no getting away from it. But yeah, and you've always kind of lived like downtown, and you love that kind of the West Village and the East Village, and that's kind of your stomping grounds.
Yeah, I grew up uptown, but you know, the city was like a little different when I was growing up in the 80s.
Mm,
It wasn't as safe.
hmm
Certainly people were living downtown, but I think, you know, people with families tended to be more uptown on the east
hmm
side. Even the Upper West Side was like a bit dodgy.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, but we had a good family friend who lived in the West Village, so
hmm
I think that was kind of the impetus. Like I saw how he lived, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's great. Well, I feel like you're like the original of all the people, of all the New York people. So I feel like you really, it's just a cool, I've always said you're such an amazing, cool person to know because you've just always been here and you just take the city as if it like, and just the whole vibe is like, that's kind of part of who you are as well, I think.
thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, it's yeah, like in a good way, like that you're very in tuned with the pulse of the city, I feel like. You and Mac, both of you guys are like amazing. And just anything else coming up for Burlesque that you want to talk about or any other shows coming up?
I do have a new show in the works for
Hmm
September, end of September,
Yeah.
and it's at a new venue, trying a new venue. So that's
Oh, it's a
exciting.
new
Still
venue.
downtown. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a gorgeous venue. So check out my Instagram at Tabby Twitch
hmm
for more information coming soon.
Nice. I'm so excited. Well, I'm a super fan, so I'll probably be there.
I would
But
love that.
yes, thank you so much for taking this time and being so supportive. And like I said, you're just a true blue, person and such a wonderful person. So I wish you all the best in everything that you do. And my last question is, if you're trapped in an elevator, who would you want to be trapped with?
Does everyone say this?
I,
The
it's a,
ele- the
it's a,
elevator repair person?
No, but that's a great answer. This is a question I asked everybody the first round, and I just like the question because I think it makes you think of like, I don't know, but yes, that's a great answer. That would be probably the person you'd want to have come and save you from the elevator disaster. But But yeah, but so I will put all your info in my little post that I'll put on Instagram. And thank you so much, Jane. This was such a lovely little chat.
Thank you for having me, Katie. I love chatting with you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.